After months of scintillating side-by-side racing, the final of the SsangYong Action Racing Series has come down to the final day of the Enduros at Pukekohe. In Enduro 1, it was the team of Christina West and Rowan Shepherd that took out the first victory. SsangYong Action Racing Series brought to you by BNZ, LDV, Hankook, Elf and BGW Wheels. Pukekohe Park Raceway, a great scene for the final round of the SsangYong Action Racing Series with the Enduros at Pukekohe, hot and humid. Race 1 was all about who could handle the pressure in the pit stops, and now with 90 minutes to go, can the solo drivers handle the fast fatigue, and who will handle that pit stop pressure, with the teams to decide who will be the champion for 2018-2019. So that's one challenge. The other challenge is how they decide the grid for the second endurance race. It's all about championship points, but it's reversed. So it's the guys with the least amount of points at the front of the grid, and if you're just doing the enduros, it's all about your lap time from the opening race. So the advantage, it's now a battle between Christina West and Rowan Shepherd, followed by Prue Barry, also Maddie Gibson and Maddie Griffin, and watch out for Murray Brook as well. So this is it, round 5, SsangYong Action Racing Series. We've had 90 minutes, a break, and now a final 90 minutes, so conditions still hot, humid, cloudy. And the forecast is who will handle that pressure of the pit stops and the 90-minute showdown for the final race of the season. What a great way to wrap up the action, Mark Pedersen.
Absolutely, it is, Brownie. And don't forget, last Enduro of the season is that they're going to revert back to the old, very fast and flowing tracks. They're going to go down the back straight. Instead of two-thirds of the way down, braking and turning right, they're just going to keep forging straight ahead into the braking zone. What it's going to do, it's going to allow for an awful lot of dramatic racing because we're going to see a lot more of the bump drafting, but also the teams have to work out how much fuel they're going to burn because the short track uses an awful lot more fuel per lap than it does with the longer track, believe it or not. So that's all part of the strategy, which you've got to start thinking about from lap 1.
Great sight as they head down the back straight. And it's the long straight here at Pukekohe. Look at that.
Oh, there's 4 or 5 abreast. And this is what I love about this track.
Great
This configuration is the best circuit in the world, in my humble opinion. It's got everything. Fast bits, slow bits, it's bumpy, it's rough, and you got to take the mongrel to the track to survive and be fast.
Mate, it's got more challenges than a dinner party and Married at First Sight, I tell you. And who knows what's going to happen, a bit like those dinner parties.
And of course, the other dynamic as well, last race of the championship, hour and a half Enduro Medley, all the championship contenders are at the back and they have to thread the needle through all these other utes and other competitors as well to get to the front.
And it's been very interesting talking to the drivers in between the break because some of those drivers, like Murray Brook, remember he started with a 7-point lead over Todd Prugine, who had the gearbox problems in the final round of the sprint series at Manfield, but he's really suffering after doing the first Enduro all by himself, along with the likes of Morgan Foster. So suddenly, the likes of the Stonemans here, Jake and Kirk, have teamed up together. They've got an advantage because they shared all of that pressure, all of those challenges in the first Enduro, and now they've got a chance to suck it up and see how they can go in the second race.
Oh, exactly right, you know, and albeit these may not be the fastest utes in the world, they are physically demanding because part of the category rules of states, you have to have all the windows up at any stage, and they don't have air conditioning. They have no cold induction like we see in other categories. It's just the drivers inside a 50-degree plus box, sweating it out, trying to do your best you can for 90 continuous minutes.
Remember, they'll start off like a sprint race, and then the pit stops, they've got to do their compulsory change, and then basically it turns out to be track position and another sprint home to decide who's going to be the champ.
That's not ideal when you're actually trying to bump draft someone on that part of the track, because if you get the other car in front of you unsighted and you get them a little bit sideways and they lose it over the top of the hill right here, the results are catastrophic. So part of what you do to be successful in any category is you have to pick your moments to pass, and certainly driving into the back of someone at that part of the track, that ain't smart thinking at all.
So the drivers, great shots here from our LDV bird's eye view, going through those ripples, turns 2 and 3, onto the entrance to the back straight, one of the famous iconic corners and real challenging parts of the circuit here at Pukekohe too.
Oh, it is, and this is the ultimate golf swing track. And what I mean by that, Brownie, is that the slower you go, the faster you're going to be. Because if you want to pass someone into the back straight, for example, which is the sequence of corners we're about to come to very shortly, you have to start working on that move at the start-finish line, because you've got to get through turn 1, 2 and 3. Make sure you get yourself set up get a big flying run out of turn 4 coming onto the back straight. So you've got to think half a track ahead of yourself. Right, if I want to pass someone here, I need to back out of it, get a fly coming on the back straight to make a pass right here.
It's also that battle of having a bit of patience as well as a lot of pace, because you've got two drivers, especially for the race teams. Oh, look at that, just getting onto the grass. Pukekohe and Barry, that combo number 44.
And these guys are championship contenders, battling it out. Look, he went hard to the right-hand side of the track. That's absolute nonsense, because he could have stayed to the left. He just wanted to run the ute on the outside of him out of room to give himself a bit of racing room. But, you know, it's too early in the race to be cutting people off, because they may return the favour.
Straight away, as you hear the screaming revs of the 2.3-litre Mercedes motor down into the famous turn 1 at Pukekohe. And of course, both drivers have to try and get onto their race pace and maintain that as much as they can, then have a very good pit stop, no mistakes in pit lane, and then bring it on home.
See, the other factor as well is, because this is essentially a reverse grid race, you have a lot of competitors that are pairing up. So you might have the driver that has just been brought in for this round, starting from the back of the field. So when you come up to pass a slow competitor, you don't know what's a racing line, you don't know if you're letting you through, you don't know if you can make a commitment. For all the championship regulars, they've been racing against these competitors day in and day out, so they know, okay, matey boy's going to go high, he does that lap after lap. But of course, because you knew, you don't want to compromise potentially losing the championship for your teammate, but you also got to realise that I need to forge ahead, get to the front as soon as I can, so when my teammate gets in the front, they can bring the thing home. So there's a lot of calculations going through everybody's mind, albeit only to lap 3 and 4 of the race.
And after winning the first Enduro, watch out for that 55 ute, Christina Raw West, Todd Pukekohe working their way up through the field from the back of the grid.
Yeah, and this is a whole different dynamic because of the different track layout. It's a different strategy.
Big and bold there.
Going down the inside. He's trying hard, isn't he?
2 by 2 going into turn 2. Hold on to it.
If he can just stay there, he might have a crack down the inside. Smart thinking to see him back to third place, because if you go down the inside, you might compromise both of your exits onto the back straight. If the train was a bit closer, Brownie, you've got to take that into equation, because if you do a bit of a duff up coming out, then you can actually lose 3 or 4 spots.
Great shot as they head down the long part of the straight at Pukekohe. Remember, they've gone back to that long straight, taking the kink out for the supercars. Matt Heaney out in front. And it's Peter Vidanovic, number 8, teaming up with Mark Mallard and the cream ute down towards the hairpin. Under brakes, smooth and fast. Interesting that some of the combinations have gone for the top drivers to set the pace before they go into the pit stops. On board with Vidanovic.
Mate, I really rate this young guy, Peter, because I had a bit to do with him last year in the category. He is a very professional, hard charger, and he's racing with one of the hard contenders from last year, Kane Lobb. So he is racing on merit. And keep in mind, he's only been drafted in for this weekend. So to say that's the professionalism of the guy. He can jump in and drive the wheels off anything.
Certainly is one of our fantastic teenagers coming through all the classes like the SsangYong Action Racing utes here with Motorsport New Zealand. So it's brilliant to see the young guys hanging on to it. Oh, here we go. Come in, spinner. Over the ripples, onto the grass. Keeps it off the concrete. How would you feel?
It's like a slow motion train wreck. You could see that going wrong, couldn't you?
Oh.
Come into the turn 1 a little bit sideways, and that's what I was referring to about earlier on in the program. You've got to get every corner right, and here we are, mate. We're just pumping Peter up, and he's trying to select gears, and nothing's happening.
Oh, trouble.
Okay, so I know he's got second, because you can see the 2 counter on the right-hand side of the screen.
Stick around. The drama continues in the SsangYong Action Racing Series. Welcome back to the SsangYong Action Racing utes, and in the series, of course, it's the Enduro 2. Oh, drama! More drama!
That's one way to stop, isn't it?
Wow.
Not too sure why you're throwing your hands in the air, because you had an exit strategy, which is going down the right-hand side if you're going to try to drive into the back of someone, but Yeah, that was just pretty sloppy, wasn't it?
So 90 minutes of motor racing. We've got gearbox problems with the number 8 ute. Then we've got braking problems with the number 11 ute. So between brakes, gearboxes and tyres, and now Vidanovic is in the pits.
Yeah, fortunately.
It doesn't look like this is going to be the scheduled pit stop. It looks like it's a big mechanical gremlin. He's not the first ute to have some gearbox issues too, is he?
No, it's not. And it's certainly not a criticism on the transmission because it's a locally made gearbox. It's the last race of the championship. It's very hot here, of course. You've got back-to-back races and stuff just does happen to go wrong. And a lot of it does come back to the maintenance as well. So, it's just one of those things, unfortunately.
Lifting, Heaney, Lobb. And of course, Stoneman. Now, Morgan Foster, one of the solo drivers. So he'll be doing it hard with the heat, the humidity.
The other thing too, Brownie, is, we saw that incident just a lap or so ago where we saw the rear end. The other part we've got to take into the equation is that it is the last race and everything is going to be stinking hot. We're now coming into essentially the second hour of racing, albeit they had a bit of a hiatus in between the two races, but everything gets hot and you're bearing down this back straight here, doing 130 plus kilometres an hour. Everything's on, the brake pedal's long, so maybe I should be a little more forgiving than what I was because sometimes, everything does catch up on you and maybe just the mechanical braking and mechanical grip wasn't there.
Well, you've had 5 rounds, of course, and of course it's all 2 enduros in one day, so a lot of pressure on everything, isn't it? The gearbox, the brakes, the tyres, the drivers, the crews, and also just keeping a clear head for the strategy. When do you whip into the pits and make your compulsory pit stop and give your partner a chance to bring it home to the checkered flag? That's what all the race teams will be thinking about. Lifting holding on from Heaney. Stoneman's now moved up into third. The father and son combo as well. All the championship contenders starting to line up. Todd Prugene, you can see him in the 44 ute. He had gearbox issues in Manfield. So we go on board with Matt Heaney having a look down the inside going into the hairpin.
You want to know what result a draft has? You just saw it there. Basically, the 3 cream ute punching a big, huge hole in the air. And the 1.8 U2 ute just took advantage of it, pulled out at the last minute, ducked down the inside. And I would think you'll see the Kirk Stoneman, which is the red Mylan ute, he'll take advantage here because he knows, I think it's Jake in the car at the moment, actually Kirk's son, that they can work. He knows he's got a lot of ute speed and he's got a tremendous amount of experience. So I don't think it's going to be long before we see that red ute in the front of this battle.
Tremendous bit of driving too by Jason Lifting after being passed by Heaney going into the hairpin. And he got it back going up and over the hill, down around to turn 1. Stoneman sticking it down the inside. He sends it. Good skills.
It's pretty smart driving at the moment because they're all effectively working as a group as they're trying to battle each other and take speed out. And you did ask the question a lap ago, when are they going to decide to stop? It's based on 2 things. 1, who's got the most speed out of the 2 drivers? And 2, if you're buried in the middle of a group, then you probably want to come in as soon as you can because you'll go back out and there's going to be no traffic around you, so you can drive your racing lines without having to be defensive. You can hit the braking markers, you can hit the apexes without having been defensive. And by default, you'll just carry more speed in. So they're the 2 factors that the teams will be looking at to make a decision, hey, look, when the pit window opens, when should we come in?
1, 2, 3 wide, down into the hairpin. Prugene has been the series leader. Lost that advantage after all the drama of the opening enduro race. Now it's switched back to Christina Raw West and Rowan Shepherd. Brooks still up there as well, but he's disappeared at the moment, starting to work his way back up from the reverse grid, remember. But at the moment, it's Lifting, Stoneman, Heaney. That's your top 3.
You can hear the tyres squealing. That's part of this dynamic of Pukekohe. You cannot emphasise how fast that part of the track is. You've got to be 100% committed and you've got to be a bit mongrel to get over the top of the hill fast, Brownie, because if you back out and be a little bit conservative, you lose the grip.
Oh, great shots of what it's like to go around turn 1. That's Puke.
That's what I mean about Pukekohe. It is the best place to race because you don't know what it's going to do. You've got to have confidence. You've got to hold your foot hard down to keep the things driving and just hope, pray that they come around the other side in one piece.
And you could just see how the rear of that ute was just bouncing on the bumps. The infamous bumps of Puke. Now we've got the slipstream of the draft right down the inside of that back straight. Good racing. Look at that. Gave each other a bit of respect. Racing room. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
That's right. And then they can rub door handle to door handle, wing mirror to wing mirror, and still get out at the end of the thing and still be best mates. And that's one of the things I do like as well about this category.
Prejean's making up for lost ground from that opening race. Right in there with the championship contender at the moment. Murray Brook, here he is, the man that started the weekend with just a narrow lead. Here he is, that clawed sort of approach to changing the gear, isn't he?
Oh, man, that was just brutal on the engine and gearbox. He come all the way in, hit the brakes. So what you traditionally do, Brown, you go in the back straight and fourth gear, you hit the brakes, and then you go second, third and first. But he just threw the thing in second, let the clutch out. The engine is just trying to slow the transmission down. Certainly not ideal way to try to stop it into the back straight.
Challenge for the lead around turn one. Stoneman. Oh, contact, Prugene and lifting. Oh, good recovery. Keeps it away from the other cars. And the carnage, that was close, but too close.
Not the close that needed to be. There's certainly enough room for two utes to go side by side. We know that, but it's quite possible that Jason just tried to tuck in the back of Jake Stoneman and didn't realise there's another ute occupying that space.
Yeah, well, old Todd just sort of got the slipstream in the draft, and that can happen sometimes. Someone makes the move down the inside, and a lot of bump drafting going on. As you said, he moved over, bang, contact.
Yeah, also keep in mind, we did see at the lap before, and you saw those really cool images, is that you go into the corner there and you hit the bump, and then the bump actually unsettles the ute, and it drives you into the corner as opposed to you driving into the corner. So that's another factor we can't dismiss.
And sometimes it can swing the rear around and also the nose in.
That's right. So when the back steps out, your natural reaction is to counteract that with the steering. And when they grip up, they're going to turn the way you've got the wheels pointed. And I dare say, knowing Jason as well as I do, I don't think there'd be a single bit of malice in that move.
So, rubbing and racing, and suddenly from being in the lead, Liefting finds himself back in the battle pack.
Some pretty good company, and there's still got a lot of speed, and there's still a lot more racing to go, so it's certainly not over for them, that's for sure.
Certainly not over for the likes of Prugene and Stoneman, the championship contenders, all in with a chance to chase that title right here, right now with the Enduros.
Go forward a lap, side by side, around turn one, it can be done.
Foster doing it tough, solo-wise, down the back straight. Look at Christina Raw-West. She's making the most and been shadowing all the way by Murray Brook. Here's Prugene coming up to the 29-minute mark. So the pit lane window is about to open. And this is going to be the second part of this enduro race. It's all about part one. Get yourself settled up, get yourself into a nice position, and then time your pit stop to try and give your partner that chance to bring it home and go for that checkered flag. So who's going to blink first? The pit lane window is now open. Wow, Prugene straight in there.
Yeah, I think he had to do that. He had no option because he was battling with Jake Stoneman.
Clear air.
Clear air. Get yourself in, get the other driver in, get the change done, and then you've got another hour to recover.
Stick around, coming up. This is where it could be won and lost along pit lane with the pit stops. It's round 5 of the SsangYong Action Racing Series. And the first to go into the pit stops is Todd Prugene, handing over to Kane Barry. So Barry, no doubt fresh, coming into the Enduros, plenty of speed. He's going to try and bring it home. 45 seconds is the magic sort of time around pit lane, isn't it, Mark?
It is. So that's the mandatory requirement. That's how long they've got to be. So irrespective if you're a 1 or 2 driver setup, you still get held for the same amount of time, and that's why we saw there was no urgency when Kane was getting in. So it's actually quite a smart move in my opinion.
So it's all about getting the driver settled, get all his belts on, and then in the mood, in the zone.
Yeah, and it's also about safety as well.
So it's still Jake Stoneman being hounded by Jason Liefting, who's recovered well from their little bit of drama. Rest of the field, 2 by 2, Murray Brook, Foster. As it's Kane Barry now, 44, first of the pit stops, finished. Where does he come out? But of course, all these drivers have to make their compulsory pit stop, so it's all about change over the next 30 minutes before we'll really know exactly where they are and how many laps they've done.
Okay, so we know that it's essentially a lap plus another 5 or 6 seconds that you're going to lose by coming in to the pits and being held by the compulsory 45 second. So he's going to be on the back of the train, knowing that at some stage in the next 30 minutes, every single one of those utes in front of him is going to disappear into the pit lane. So if he can get to the back of the group, Brownie, before they stop, he's going to get the undercut and probably be leading this race on corrective time.
How long does it take for the drivers, after they've made the change and they're fresh, they've come straight out of pit lane, straight into the race, to really get themselves settled in and dialed in behind the wheel?
If you're professional, the first corner. If you're only just coming into the series for the first time, it can be 2, 3, 4, maybe up to 10 laps before you get into the rhythm. So that's the difference between someone that's experienced in what they're doing and someone that's just been drafted in for the weekend.
This is all about the strategy, the tactics, the pace, the patience game. Who's going to pounce? Who's going to avoid the carnage? And here we go. Pit stop number 2. And it's Jason Leifting. He's going to come in.
That's what I like about Jason Leifting. You saw him cutting onto the grass coming into the pit straight. That's all about reducing the amount of time that you're going to lose in the pit stop. And albeit you might not think it means very much, it means that he was charging all the way through. And you can actually save seconds upon seconds by being as fast and aggressive as you can until the braking zone.
So he's going to hand over to James Watson. And of course, the other big move is right in behind there. The team that won the first Enduro and grabbed the points lead going into this final showdown, Christina Raw West, on board with her, and now she's going to hand over to Rowan Shepherd. And you know the story about Rowan Shepherd.
This is a fantastic combination. Rowan Shepherd, he's been the bridesmaid so many times, the poor bugger. It's not through lack of trying, but he is committed, and you probably have to agree, Brownie, he looks sharp, doesn't he? He looks thin, he looks like he's been trying in terms of conditioning-wise, and he's just hungry for it.
So, yeah, really determined. And, of course, he's such a good driver as well. So, Christina Raw West know that she's done the setup, given him the lead in the series and a chance to try and win a title here. And he's so quick. It's such a good combination. So, it'll be interesting to see how soon he's on the pace.
Well, I think, knowing Rowan as well as we do, he'll be dialed in and be ready to charge the minute he gets out of pit lane. But what was interesting is we saw the blue ute and Christina's ute come in, and they were almost line astern, and then they went out probably separated by 7 or 8 seconds. And that's the difference between charging into pit lane and being aggressive as you can. And that's exactly that. That image there is what I was talking about. When they come in, Brownie, they were line astern, and that's the difference between charging into pit lane and cruising into pit lane.
It's a pretty good stop by Leifting and James Watson there, because they've come out right on with the leaders at the moment, haven't they?
They have. So they didn't actually lose a lap.
No.
Plus another 5 or 6 seconds. It was exactly a lap that they lost. So that's the charging.
So they're in a pretty good position. We'll see where Christina Raw West and Rowan Shepherd come out. So they're behind this train because they would have got caught coming out of pit lane. There's Prue Jean. And that's Kane Barry behind the number 44 Prue Jean ute. And of course now it's Rowan Shepherd in the 55 ute. Here's 177 coming in. So it's Matt Griffin out, Matt Gibson getting in, another really good driver, taking over running Hampton Downs. Done a superb job, both behind the wheel and off the track. Meanwhile, Stoneman still out in front, Heaney. Now it's Watson in there. He's made the change. And once these other guys make their pit stop, they'll be back onto the same laps. Ooh, it's that sort of nervous, sort of unsettled period, isn't it? You don't really know what's happening. And you've got to remember that they haven't got radio contact, have they?
No,
so
they
they're all sort of playing the guessing game by themselves.
Yeah, you just see underneath the bridge there, you'll see the in sign. It's just going to be withdrawn in a minute. And that's the only way that the teams can actually communicate with the driver. It's very old-fashioned, what they call a bit board. And it's all the information the driver needs. It just tells them how many laps to go, how many laps they've done, etc., etc. Very old school, but when you have no radio communication, it's the only communication you've got.
But that also means it's another advantage for the race teams that have got experienced drivers behind the wheel, because they know what to watch out for and when, and sort of have a second sense or that sixth sense about what to do.
You do, and with experience comes confidence, and with confidence means everything slows down for you in the ute. And you might get to the stage of the race and think, oh, the brake pedals are a tad longer than it was before I started. Mechanical grip on the tyres aren't there, so you back off maybe 10 metres earlier and just coast the ute into the next corner, which happens to be the end of the back straight here. So instead of using up all the brakes and the engine and the transmission, and certainly not an ideal way to come out of the hairpin, you just nurture the thing along, because at some stage you've still got to hand over to the co-driver who's still got to do a segment of this race, so you don't want to burn everything up.
That's a good call, actually. All about that experience comes the confidence, because, you know, it's all about being cool, calm, collected. And the better you're smooth and fast behind the wheel, you basically know what you're doing, the less mistakes you make, as where with some of the less experienced drivers, it's all those distractions and that guessing game. Do I do this? Do I do that? How does the car feel? You're sort of shadowing yourself sometimes.
You do, and you only pick that up with experience. Experience gives you confidence, like we said a little while ago, and you can do whatever you like when you've got confidence. If things are going to step out sideways going around turn one, you know it's got the grip to come around. And it's very hard when you're a new driver coming to the category, because you've got to go as fast as you can. You just don't have the experience to match it.
So the Jayco Ute, number 182, Matt Heaney is in the pits. Stoneman, Jake Stoneman, son of Kirk, still out in front. James Watson behind the wheel, number 3 at the moment in the red and blue cream Ute.
They're obviously leaving Jake out for as long as they can.
To try and build up a sort of a buffer, aren't they? Here comes Rowan Shepherd. He's making up a big move. Remember, he teamed up with Christina All-West and they grabbed the momentum. The famous saying in motorsport from Mark Petch, we said it in the previous races. In this series, it's all about momentum. Have they got the momentum, or have these guys, can they steal it away from them?
About to find out in a lap's time, on corrective time, to see exactly how they come out again.
And the Jayco Ute's back out again.
And we saw the countdown there, because that's, like we said, you got the 45-second allocation. So that was counting them down, so they got the driver change. But man, look at this Ute. It's Murray Brook and Rowan Shepherd.
Shepherd's got past Kane Barry here. That's a big move.
Oh, it's a huge move, considering that they're bump drafting on the outside of the track. We don't normally see that.
Oh, and he just held on to it, considering that they'd actually made the pit stop earlier.
They did. Turn one, causing us all kinds of fantastic footage.
But Kane Barry wouldn't be worrying about the pit stop. He'd just be worrying about keeping it on the tarmac.
Yeah, look, you're probably a little bit surprised that the train was going around the outside, because you don't normally see that. But that Murray Brook, he knows that he has to get on the back of Rowan Shepherd as soon as he can, as does the Todd Prugine car, because this is the championship. 3 Utes in picture, all battling for the championship.
Is it like that famous Kiwi song, Just Slipping Away? Is that what Murray Brook's singing to himself at the moment?
Oh, I wouldn't have thought so. There's a lot of racing to go yet, and we know that he can win races, because rewind the clock back a year, it was his first ever win in this category.
Slipping away from me. So now it's Jake Kirkstoneman. That's the big handover. So Rowan Shepherd, boy, he, as you said, right from the first corner, being a really good driver, he's straight onto that race pace. Big change.
He did. He probably realised that they lost a little bit in the pit stop, and that, you know, he had to forge ahead. He's picked his moments wisely, and that's why he's now, in a couple of laps, he's got enough ute speed that he'll be batting for the lead of this race.
Yeah, and he's got out in front of Stoneman, Brooks in front as well, Prugine. Round into turn 2, holds on to it, runs it over the ripples. Stoneman sticks it out in front of Foster.
Considering where the Stoneman Ute was before they come into the pit stop, at some stage they've lost a bit of time, because we would expect that Ute to be a bit further up than what it is now.
And right now, effectively, as we take a look on the track, that number 30 Ute of Murray Brook is currently the leader, but he hasn't had a pit stop yet, and he's currently out of phase with the rest of these cars in front of him and behind him who have made their pit stop. So he's got a big decision to make. Does he make the stop now, or does he go long and try and have an advantage?
It's not a very big decision at all. He needs to get himself out of this battle as soon as he can, because he's slowing himself down by being aggressive and being defensive. You've just got to come into the pits now, do the pit stop, and then you've got half an hour to try to recover.
He's heard you, mate. Well done.
And he's charging. Slowing down too early. That is not, that line there, incorrect. That is not the 40 km/h line. That is right there.
Oh, so that's about 4 or 5, potentially.
Yeah.
Making a 45-second pit stop into 50 seconds.
Correct, exactly right. And that's what we saw with some of the other utes. They charge to the proper decarnation line. But when you slow down that early, you're just zapping time away.
And remember, wind your clock back. Not so much for daylight saving, but a year ago, it was Peter Bennett that grabbed the championship because they practiced pit stops. And the speed along pit lane is where they made it up in that race for the checkered flag.
And you hit the nail on the head. It's just not only the driver change, it is the whole pit stops. That's the minute you get to the 40 km/h zone to the very second you go past the decarmation so we can start accelerating from 40 kilometres an hour when you get out of the pit lane. It's the whole equation. It's just not the driver change that you've got to take into account.
Well, he's left it late, didn't he? The 59-minute mark, the pit lane window open from 30 minutes to 60 minutes, and then it becomes a 30-minute sprint race. So we'll hit the 1 hour mark. And here he is. Murray Brook started the championship with a 7-point lead going into this final round. Took all that momentum from Mansfield, but has the fatigue factor, the heat, the humidity, and driving by himself backfired on Brook. We're about to find out. 30 minutes to go.
It's a long afternoon, isn't it? 3 hours in this brutal heat with no reprieve for the drivers whatsoever. That answers the question right there. Christina Orr gone out of picture. Murray Brook still in the picture.
And all those cars he was in front of, now he's going to come out of pit lane and he's going to have a long road to make up. Welcome back to the SsangYong Action Racing Utes. It's the Enduro 2, the final showdown at Pukekohe. What a fantastic finish after 5 rounds and all the drama of the sprint series, all the action of the Enduro. We're down to a great scrap because it's Watson and Leifting out in front, the number 3 Ute, but behind them it's the 55 of Rowan Shepherd, who's teamed up with Christina All-West under brakes into the hairpin. 1 hour and 15 on the shot clock, so 15 minutes to make your move. Is this the championship move right here, right now? Shepherd around the outside of Watson. They won the first Enduro. They grabbed the lead in the points, and now they've grabbed the lead in the second race. Oh, turn it up and over the hill. And that experienced combo of Christina All-West and Rowan Shepherd have grabbed the lead. And can they take it home to the finish?
Mate, all he's got to do is survive the next 4 corners, come onto the back straight, and he is away. He will not be stopped from this point. But, man, that got pretty ugly half a lap ago at the end of the back straight, didn't it? It could have come unstuck for them, but Rowan Shepherd showed his experience and his maturity, bided his time, had a good crack over the top of the hill. And now, I dare say, I think the final chapter has actually been written.
And there is the other championship chaser, Todd Prugine, teaming up with Kane Barry. He can see that Shepherd's in front now. He'll know that he's got to try and get onto the bumper and try and get past to wrestle back the championship. But Rowan Shepherd, second so many times, he will be saying, not now, not today, down the inside. Oh, smokes it up, almost locks it up. Regathers. Oh, handle the pressure.
Man, no one's actually given any quarter at all that it's a championship at stake here, are they? Just down the inside, executing the moves as soon as he can. And Brownie, he has to do that. He's got to keep the momentum going and execute the moves as soon as he can, because the minute he's conservative, then all of a sudden the number 3 Ute's going to be on the back of him, and then he's got problems.
And you said he was a hard charger. He's done a lot of Mazda racing along with the SsangYong Ute, so he's really experienced. He will be barred up big time here. He's going to bring this baby home if he can. But it's an endurance race, you know, and first you've got to finish first.
That's right, and I said it at the very beginning of this show, the fuel calculation will soon become a bit of a factor for this race. Because you're going down the back straight, it's a shorter track than what we saw in Enduro 1, but you're on full throttle for a lot longer, burning a lot more fuel as well. So we know this time last year it was very touch and go whether the teams are going to make it, and given that it's a very hot day today, these things will be throwing a lot of fuel in to help cool the engines off. The fuel burn's going to be higher. It will become a factor.
And you got to feel for Todd Prugine, those gearbox problems at Mansfield towards the end of that previous round. Is that the big change in his championship chase?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the wrong part of the championship to start having problems, isn't it? If you have it in round 1, you've got another 3 or 4 rounds to recover. And you have mechanical issues in round 4, you've only got 1. Very hard to come back from that.
Kane Barry, very experienced racer though, doing a superb job here, trying to chase down Rowan Shepherd. He's up and over the hill. Look at that gap now.
Yeah, these guys are essentially battling with each other, and it's just allowing Rowan to do what he needs to do, hit all the KPIs, which is, you know, the nice good apexes, the good braking markers. You see the pit board there, so the team is communicating with him, so he knows exactly what's going on outside of the environment of the cabin. So, they're ticking the boxes, aren't they? They've got the best driver combination, in my opinion. They've executed the moves well. Pit stop probably wasn't as quick as it could have been, given the entry and exit out of pit lane, but hey, it hasn't stopped them at all, has it?
And how would you feel being Christina Royal West at the moment along pit lane? You've done all the setup work, and this is your championship here in the hands of someone else.
Oh, look, she'll be a bit nervous, but full credit to her and the rest of the team. They chose the best driving partner they could possibly find. So the rewards should
Good
be well
strategy,
taken.
good tactics.
Oh, good everything, yeah. It's faultless all weekend.
Yeah, it's been a great day so far. Great setup with Enduro 1 winning that. Now we're on board with Morgan Foster, another one of the solo drivers doing it tough. But still doing it.
It's a long afternoon, isn't it? 3 hours and these cocooned up inside a SsangYong ute. It's, be 45, 50 degrees easily inside there. So it's very, very physical.
And it's a thrilling way to decide a championship. 5 minutes to go. Look at that. Down the back straight at Pukekohe.
And we spoke a little while ago about Todd Prugine, and I mentioned about recovering, from a bad round. We've got to rewind the clock back to round 1 with Christina. She had a shocker in round 1, okay? But because she's had 4 or 5 rounds to recover, she's now battling. If not, we'll probably win this championship. So it goes back to what you're saying, Brownie. It's all about the recovery.
And never give up. Keep pushing, keep opening the doors. 4 minutes to go.
That Johnny Reid taught me that, Johnny Reid would never give up until the checkered flag had finished. And sometimes you go, oh, maybe he's going to finish second or third, only for someone to falter on the last lap and for him to come through and win it. And that was a valuable lesson and a life lesson for me of Johnny Reid. Never give up until the checkered flag is shown.
I remember flying home from one of the motor racing meetings and having a good chat with one of the drivers about handling the pressure of racing for the checkered flag. And I mean, stay onto the track.
Oh, that's a good save. That's a really good save.
And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, sometimes when you know you've got the checkered flag coming up and you've got the lead, you get a bit nervous and you start looking for, where do I make, don't make mistakes rather than just keep on racing for that checkered flag. Some drivers can get out sight, so.
When I was going to win our first NZV8 championship, exactly the same thing happened. You start smelling smells that don't exist. You start hearing noises that aren't there. You swear to God that there's a vibration in the car and there's nothing wrong. The car's faultless. It's just your mind takes over. It's horrible.
It's like, I just want to... And, of course, you've got to allow for the, a freak mechanical problem. Please, not now. Not now. Just give me some tyres. Give me some fuel. Here we go. Shepherd, Watson, Barry. First in the championship now. Rowan Shepherd and Christina Royal West. Kane Barry teaming up with Todd Prugine, who had been first. Murray Brook looks like he's slid down the field. He was the leader, so it's all gone wrong for him in the battle of the Enduros. As we said at the start of the weekend, anything can happen and probably will happen in the 2 90-minute Enduro races. Barry searching for a way to try and get past. He's got the bump draft, but he's running out of laps. He's running out of time. It sounds funny. You've been on the track for almost 90 minutes.
Man, these guys have been very... He might actually end up getting past both of them here.
He's going to try and duck down the inside, and he's going to be squeezed out again.
Just backed out of that completely.
Meanwhile, up in front, Rowan Shepherd doing what he has to do to try and get the monkey off his back and try and finally win another championship and win a championship here with the SsangYongs. Some of the back markers causing problems with the guys at the front of the field. Down under the LDV bridge. Couple of laps to go. Watson, Prugine, Shepherd. We go on board. Kane Barry, number 44. Arms are beginning tired now, wrestling these cars on those ripple strips.
And that was a perfect illustration of what I was talking about earlier. He backed out of it coming down in the front straight. All right, slowed down, and he got an absolute fly coming onto the back straight. I actually thought it'd be going to be a lot closer he was for the draft. So maybe that 44 ute might have a little bit of a mechanical issue, because the way he came off the last corner, I thought he was going to take advantage, keep the acceleration going, pick up the draft, and then make 1 or 2 spots. But it just hasn't happened.
So at the moment, the man who's still making it happen is Rowan Shepherd. He'll be keeping a close eye on the rear view mirror of these other drivers further back down the field right behind him. What can Barry do here? Can he get a slingshot? So we're coming up to the 1 hour and 29 minute mark. So basically it's last lap country. 1 minute to go. There we go. Shot clock reads, this is it. This is the moment. The championships are won and lost. And you think back after 5 fantastic years of motor
Yellow
racing.
flag. Sorry, yellow flag's been waved, so something's happened around turn.
Oh, there it is. Oh, just to add to all the tension and the drama, they've got a caution along pit straight, along the main straight.
Yeah, so what's going to happen? That actually now eliminates the whole front straight
From a passing move.
as a passing move for this final lap.
But mind you, Rowan Shepherd just wants to take the checkered flag. Don't worry about the yellow.
Oh, he'll be wrapped coming over the top of the hill to see the yellow flag because he knows that that stage the race has essentially been neutralised, so nothing can happen. So, yeah, interesting.
So just a couple of corners to go now for Rowan Shepherd. He's got the lead. Kane Barry has now got past James Watson to grab second spot. And that's your top 3. But for this guy, what a great moment. What a great series. Fantastic support from the team at SsangYong. Previous winners, the likes of Jaden Dodge, 2-time winner Daniel Connor, last year Peter Bennett. But this year, Christina Orr-West is about to become the champion after teaming up with the man who's been second so many times, Rowan Shepherd. Up and over the hill today, he says, not today, this is my moment of magic. He'll take the checkered flag and they'll go back to back in the Enduros. And there she is, the motoring mum, sensational. Takes out the title and a well-deserved moment for one of the real icons of New Zealand motorsport. Christina Orr-West, Rowan Shepherd, number 55. 2-time winners of the Enduros, 2 races today, and they take out the title, followed by Todd Prugene and Kane Barry, James Watson and Jason Lifting rounding out the top 3. So after all the GTs, all the different types of racing, Christina Orr-West is your champion. And what a champion bloke to team up with in Rowan Shepherd. Yes, hugs all round and also smiles as the winners.
I just needed to not muck up pretty much. It's when you're co-driving, you obviously don't want to mess up the championship leaders' championship, I guess. So yeah, just glad to finish well and give Christina a championship win. And I've been runner-up 4 years, and it's good to almost feel like I've won a championship today. So that's kind of cool as well. So I just really appreciate Christina giving me a drive today. It's been a bit quiet in the seat lately, so yeah, to have another drive has been awesome.
You know, it's been 4 years. You know, I've been ripped off every round here. The ute stopped, so I got brake tested and it got the kill switch and that killed 1 year, and then last year it stopped again, that killed that year. So I can tell you I was chewing my nails and I was praying to the racing gods.
Definitely stoked with how we went. I pulled off real early and left it to the co-driver Kane, and he pulled through pretty well, so hats off to him. There's no keeping up with Rowan and Christina. They were on fire this weekend, and stoked with how we finished.
Yeah, it was really, really close between us all, and yeah, we got third again this year, so hopefully we can do something better next year in the Roof Improvements car.
So it's been a fantastic series, a fantastic finish right down to the last race. Just 11 points between the top 2, Orr-West and Todd Prugene. Great result for Rowan Shepherd. Great result for your champion, Christina Orr-West. SsangYong Action Racing Series brought to you by BNZ, LDV, Hankook, Elf and BGW Wheels.